Hey, I've got a new book out. It's called Dollbloods. It's a nice piece of comedic fantasy, inspired by stuff like Terry Pratchett and Yancey Crowshaw's first novel, Mogworld. If you're looking for something new to read and feel like supporting a struggling indie, check it out. Links are in the description. Back in 1988, Elite Systems released for home computers a little game called Beyond the Ice Palace. A Ghosts and Goblins style platformer that gave PC gamers a small taste of what console gamers were enjoying. Then it faded into obscurity. Now 37 years later, we have the sequel, Beyond the Ice Palace 2, by Storybird Studios. For some reason. Alright, jokes aside, on paper, this is a rather solid game that has a lot of interesting ideas to make it stand out from the pack, while also breathing new life into a title that's been more or less forgotten since 1988. It's just a shame that it launched with a number of frustrating bugbears and technical issues that made it hard for me to like it as much as I wanted to. Thematically, this sequel is a far cry from the tone and style of the original. I won't say I'm familiar with the first Beyond the Ice Palace, but from what I've looked up, in it we play as a Conan the Barbarian style hero on a quest to kill an evil witch and save the land. Here we're playing as the same hero, decades after he was betrayed by his pages and killed. Thanks to the prayers of the citizenry though, we're back from the dead, armed with the chains that held our body, and ready to whip a bloody path of carnage against the traitors, killing every last demon, undead, and page until we reclaim not only our throne, but the God-given power to rule that they stole from us. But of course, there's something bigger going on behind the scenes. I won't lie, I love this setup. Not only does it work as a continuation, but it also sets itself apart as its own thing, by going the more dark fantasy route and giving the hero an understandable shift in personality, which is communicated in his animation and visuals, but is really driven home when we execute a page, where he puts them 6 feet under in the most brutal ways possible. If the first Ice Palace was Conan the Barbarian, then this game is more Elric of Melniboné. The gameplay too is starkly different to the original. If the first game was Ghosts and Goblins, then this is early Castlevania, not Metroidvania. Think NES Castlevania with stuff like Simon's Quest, Curse of Dracula, Bloodlines, and the original, and that's Ice Palace 2. It's a linear platformer with secrets and challenges for the player to find, making exploration rewarding, and uses the King's Chains in ways that Simon Belmont wishes he could have used his whip. It functions a lot like a hybrid of Simon's whip and Kratos' Blades of Chaos, and it can be used for traversal and environmental interaction. There are ring hooks that we can swing and launch ourselves from as part of the puzzle platforming, and there are also enemies that need their shields either pulled or bashed before we can even hurt them, and there's also switches and gates that only the chains can interact with in order to activate. Combat is a simple yet satisfyingly brutal affair that reminds me of Darksiders 2's. We whip at the enemies with our chains, but there's no block. Instead, you have to rely on dodging and deflecting ranged attacks, which demands that the player pay attention to the enemies, then just spam attacks. The traversal abilities we unlock add extra tactical options, and there are also enemies whose behaviour ties back into the other mechanics around the chain, like a little one-eyed monster who's surrounded by flying rocks that protect it. In order to make it vulnerable, you need to catch the rocks that have hooks, tear them away, and then you can safely hurt the monster. There's also some executions we can pull off to finish enemies, and they're underwhelming. It's usually just a stomp, and most of the time it's just to stop the skeletons from getting back up. But when we fight the pages, oh boy, we get treated to some really good ones that further drive home the anger and the brutality of the hero. From crushing a page's windpipe by strangling him, to repeatedly slamming another's face into the ground, and these are always the cherry on top of the mostly satisfying boss fights. The platforming has a decent bit of challenge attached to it thanks to the game demanding the player pay attention to its finer details. For example, when you swing from a hook and charge, you launch yourself at the angle you're dangling from. You have no control over your trajectory, at least until you've unlocked the double jump or the dash. However, the platforming can feel clunky and there are times where the game wants you to engage with the platforming a specific way to help overcome a challenge, but instead you're better off making use of the other elements of the gameplay and just brute force your way through. The fight against the capital page is a great example of this. So long as you keep an eye on your stamina, you can just huddle in the left side of the arena, deflect his ranged attacks, and wear the traitor down. All the while those hooks hang limp and ignored. It also doesn't help that hook swinging is inconsistent. If you grab on a hook for swinging, then you don't need to hold down the attack button to hold on, but for all other hooks you need to hold down the attack button or else the hero just lets go. Because we encounter the latter before the former, we end up training ourselves to hold down the attack button. Once you realize that you don't need to in one instance, that's when you start to test this discovery, with potentially disastrous results. But at least the game does reward exploration and backtracking. If you take your time to look for hidden nooks, crannies, and go back and investigate something that seemed odd early in the game, you will be rewarded with things like gold, food, and power crystals. That last one is something you will want to keep an eye out for. They are your upgrade points, and they're how you increase your health, stamina, damage, and other attributes as well. However, the game does suffer from glitches that can make playing it more frustrating than it needs to be. Thankfully, most of the time, these are just graphical and the devs have been getting patches out at a decent pace. But the most frustrating ones are the ones that can soft lock the player. See, there are areas you can't access directly until you've killed a page. Afterward, the hero teleports to that area. This glitch blocks you from doing that. The new teleporter is on the fast travel menu, but if you try to go there, you get bounced back. However, there are ways around this. Two, in fact. The first is to revert the game back to its 1.0 version, which is what I did in the GOG Galaxy launcher. But this can create a new risk, that your save file will no longer be compatible with the later versions of the game, and you need to start over. The other is to just wait for a new patch to roll out. While it is nice the player can get around this particular issue, its existence is inexcusable, and many players will be forgiven for abandoning the game because of it. It begs the question, how did Storyboard's QA not pick up on this glaring issue? I've only got a few minor things left to say about this game, so I'll just list them off. The sprite work and the art direction are great, and the first things you'll notice when starting the game. The music is forgettable with no standout track, the church segment is one long frustrating slog, and it's the only segment without a pre-boss checkpoint. So if you fail the unique boss fight that's also a platforming challenge, then you have to redo the whole thing, including the mini-boss fight before the puzzle boss. And this segment is why I stopped playing to focus on getting this video done. For now anyway, I still want to finish the game. At the end of the day, I enjoyed Beyond the Ice Palace 2, warts and all, but I want to like it more than I do. Too many bugbears and technical hiccups hold it back from being something great. The potential is there. With a little more polish, I can see it happening, but as it currently stands, considering it only cost me $30, I can't say I didn't get my money's worth. If nothing else, it's a game that's worth a look and giving a chance. Like I said, I enjoyed it, but I want to like it more than I have. And with that, it's finally done. Hope you all enjoyed my review of Beyond the Ice Palace 2, and if you really liked it, then I hope I earned a like and a subscribe from you. For the next game I'm planning to review, I'm planning to take a look at Tempest Rising. I've already played a little bit of it, and I gotta admit, I really like what I'm seeing, and keep in mind, I've never played Command & Conquer. I'm also planning to take a look at Doom the Dark Ages and Elden Ring Night Rain, but considering work has gotten slow, I might have to put those off for later. I'm also hoping to get into doing more regular movie reviews again now that work's starting to slow down, and I've also got a script written up for a new off-the-cuff essay. I've got all that and more coming up, so please stick around.